devolve. Congressman, thank you for joining us here on The Drive. We greatly appreciate you taking some time out to help us understand the situation. I didn't think it could get worse, but in the last few days, it's the worst we've ever seen.
Yeah, it continues to get worse ever since this president took office and did away with the effective policies of the previous one. And I guess 2 days ago we had the highest number ever, 14,500 plus. It's absurdity. The American people are just livid. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and it's sort of like we're helpless, tied, our hands are tied, and somebody's burning our house down. I mean, it's just, it's obscene.
Let me just run through some headlines here. Illegal aliens entering at a rate of 4.6 million a year. Immigration courts add a whopping 1 million cases to backlog as border crisis worsens. Border Patrol says surge in border crossings is overwhelming its resources. $500 million in railroad freight is stuck at the Texas border because they had to close down some of the railroad crossings coming into the United States because it was interfering with the crisis down there. And then we're now apparently the Biden administration is flying illegal immigrants on Delta and American Airlines all over the country late at night when nobody's looking. I mean, people are angry about this, and I know that there is a sort of negotiation going on right now on Capitol Hill to try to find something that will get the Ukraine funding, but also secure the border. How is that going?
Well, it's kind of stuck in the Senate. We in the House passed H.R. 2, which is the bill that my committee and Jim Jordan's committee put together that would reestablish security of our border. Very, very good bill, and it sits at the Senate with nothing. The Republicans are trying to add pieces of that bill into this supplemental, but they're just not reaching an agreement. It's very frustrating. Mike Johnson, the new speaker, basically said, well, we're not touching anything until border security is taken care of. And I appreciate his support on that because, otherwise this president will continue to break the law. And it's not like the Congress has its own police force where our judiciary where we can go. I mean, we rely on the DOJ and the department to follow the laws. And tragically, they're not.
Well, I mean, as I understand it, these negotiations, the Biden administration has said that, they would consider doing some things to tighten border security, which suggests they could have done this at any point.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But listen, when they say that, it's like the checks in the mail. They're talking about spending money on processing people into the country. They're not talking about stopping this mass. If they could implement the Trump policies, remain in Mexico tomorrow. And effectively, Governor Abbott, Greg Abbott, said that's what we're doing, and he just signed a bill into law that basically makes it illegal to be illegal in Texas law. And so, I think we need to do that in Tennessee. We need to do that all over the country because the federal government, at least under this president, doesn't care about the federal laws.
Well, we got a surge. I mean, it's definitely, we thought we've seen surges before, nothing like this going on right now. Why do you think it's happening now? Is it because the people are trying to get into this country understand that, well, there's an election, we may have a new president? Does it have something to do with the fact that the state of Texas is now going to start enforcing the law where the federal government does not enforce the law? What's driving it right now? Because this is normally a rather slow time on the border.
Yeah, but it's actually, honestly, Brian, all of the above and then some. The cartels are very politically savvy, and they have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the country, and they're pushing to make money. So I'm sure they've stepped it up because they know these negotiations are going on in the Senate. They know that even Democrat mayors across the country, Democrat governors have had it. Mayor Eric Adams in New York is basically saying it's going to destroy New York. Well, truth of the matter is he's getting about 110 a day. His city's a 12 million person city. El Paso's getting 800 to 1,000 a day, and that city's a city of 600,000. So it's a little bit frustrating to hear him whine, but everybody's upset. So I maybe something's coming. I don't know. But the cartels are smart. They follow what's going on here and they respond.
The situation is so bad. Let's talk a little bit about the national security implications of all this, because we know that some of the people who come across the border who have been caught by the Border Patrol, and a great number are not being caught by the Border Patrol, but we know that they were on the terrorist watch list. And yet we have about 2 million people. I've done the math on this. 1.8 million known gotaways, maybe 20% more who are unknown gotaways. We don't know anything about these people. We know who they are. We don't know where they are. We don't know who they're loyal to. We don't know what they're up to.
No, that's absolutely right. And I had Director Ray in front of my committee just 3 weeks ago, and I asked him, can you guarantee me there's no Hamas cells coming across the southern border with this open border policy? That and Mayorkas was sitting right next to him when I asked the question, and of course he said, no, I can't give you that guarantee. And then of course he elaborated on the I think it was 9 Uzbekis who were escorted here by a known ISIS agent that are now loose in the country, and his agents are out trying to find these guys. This is it. No American is safe with Alejandro Mayorkas as the Secretary of Homeland Security and Joe Biden as the President of the United States. The little baby that died in Florida that encountered fentanyl on the floor left by the previous renter of a VRBO is an excellent proof that there is no American who is safe from this open border policy. And we're wrapping up our 5-phase investigation of Mayorkas. We're going to put the screws to him in January. It's coming.
So tell me about that. You believe that there will be sufficient votes to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas, the person in charge of Homeland Security. On what charge?
We're going to lay out the evidence of everything from lying to Congress to aiding and abetting the drug cartels to, potential fraud. We're still hustling through the last piece of that investigation. Clearly waste of government funds. And as far as I'm concerned, and this is my opinion, we just hired some, constitutional lawyers to dig into this. But if you raise your hand and take an oath to defend the Constitution, that means you're supporting the contents of the Constitution, which very clearly says the Congress writes the laws and the executive branch executes those laws. If you are violating the very laws written by Congress, not following those, we've got court orders telling him to follow the laws as they're written, and he still ignored them. To me, that's a high crime. When you're in high office and you take that oath and you say, I will defend the Constitution of the United States, and you don't, as far as I'm concerned, that's a high crime.
I mean, the way it works is that Congress passes the law, and if you get the president's signature, they pass the bill, and then the president signs it into law. So the laws are there. And correct me if I'm wrong. When you take the oath of office as president, you say you're going to faithfully execute the laws of the country. You say you're going to follow the Constitution. And the same thing goes when you're the Secretary of Homeland Security. You're supposed to take an oath to follow the Constitution and faithfully execute the laws. There is no way on God's green earth that what is happening on the border is a faithful following of the laws that exist today. And so they have effectively circumvented the will of Congress and by extension, the will of the people on this matter.
Yes. I mean, that's exactly the way I believe it. I mean, that they're essentially executing an agenda, and that's where the intent comes in for the aiding and abetting charge, because you have to have intent. And so they're very clearly intentional in what they're doing to get mass waves of people into the country. They're completely aware that the cartels have taken advantage of this, and when the Border Patrol is overwhelmed, they're bypassing them with drugs, fentanyl, and trafficked individuals that, I mean, look, if you come into the country and can turn yourself into Border Patrol and just get into the country, why are you avoiding Border Patrol? There must be some nefarious reason, right? So, and we know 24,000 Chinese have come into the country this last year. The highest year before that was 1,800. It's not like there was an earthquake in China. It's not like there was some, humanitarian disaster. People are fleeing. This president has put the national security of this nation second to an agenda, an intentional agenda to flood the country with people whom they think will vote Democrat and empower their party into perpetuity. I think that's flawed because you look at Latinos, they're turning to the Republican Party left and right. So, but this is intentional. No mistake about it.
I must, while I have you here, just ask you your thoughts about the Colorado decision to take former President Trump off the ballot. I mean, many people have weighed in saying they think it's a wrongly decided decision. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, 3 of the people of the 7 dissented. Of the 4 remaining who actually had an opinion, 2 of those are running for governor in Colorado. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's the most political. These are the people, and I think Bill Hagerty said it really well in a tweet yesterday. These are the very people that have been screaming about misuse of democracy, and they're totally violating the democratic process, going after the presidential candidate that's leading right now, with no due process. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. It is undemocratic. It won't stand in the Supreme Court. Donald Trump will be on the ballot in Colorado. So it's just a political move by these guys.
All right. Just one last question as our time runs down. And again, I appreciate you pulling over to the side of the road to help us out here this afternoon. Let's assume that you come to some kind of agreement and that in order to get the Ukraine and Israel funding, the president agrees that he's going to tighten border security. What confidence do we have that he'll actually follow through?
Well, you know, Brian, I hate to say it. I don't have a whole lot of confidence that, this president's going to do anything that actually works positively for the country. Whether it's, taking the Houthi rebels off the terrorist watch list and watching them turn around and create an international crisis in the, Red Sea, or $6 billion for 4 hostages swapped with Iran. And now we're cutting a deal with Maduro in Venezuela to get 10 Americans back. We're going to give them some of theirs back. I mean, everything this guy does is wrong. It's unfathomable. So they say one thing, do another. Do I have confidence that if we cut a deal, they're going to stick to it? No. But I mean, we got to start somewhere, and this is the leverage we've got. So we're going to work it.